guest will head to her first Olympic Games in Paris. As a proud no-injury woman, she will be the first Indigenous female Olympic boxer, but that's just one part of her inspiring story, from an unconventional childhood to a gold medalist. Thanks for joining me, Marissa Williamson-Pohlman.
Thanks for having me, Abby.
So great to chat to you, Riss. I saw that you went on a recent team trip to America, and there was like some photos of you playing like games at this like time zone like thing. Do you have like a favorite one to do?
It was an old school. It was called Penny Arcade in Colorado. To be honest, I loved the Guitar Hero. I was killing it at that.
Okay. Do you ever do any of like the basketball ones? I know there's like one where you have to like get like the small ball and like the hoops, and it's really hard.
I suck at anything to do with balls. Any ball games, I just can't do it. I think there was one where you can like roll it up and it like you can like land it in like a
Oh,
hole.
yeah.
And I was good at that.
You should do the boxing one where you have to
Yeah.
like punch the bag that's like,
I actually did that as well.
I know, I was
Our
gonna say,
super heavyweight did it. Broke the bag, yeah.
oh really? I was gonna say you would probably be quite good at that, given it's like literally what you do. But
I mean, it's easier punching someone's face.
okay, that's fair enough. I guess it's a bit different, something like standing still. But just getting
Yeah.
into, I just wanted to first just go back to the beginning and talk about your childhood. So yours was probably maybe a bit different from many, like kind of going to different foster families and also changing schools a bit. What was that kind of like, I guess, having to adjust to like new environments?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it does feel very far in the past. You know, I'm 22 now, so I've been out of foster home for a really long time. But to be honest, it was just a weird time of my life, and feel like I had really no stability, and I had no. I feel like there was really nothing on the horizon for me. But luckily, I fell into sport, and that kind of changed my life. And yeah, now here we are.
Did it feel like I guess your childhood was like different from others, or was it kind of just what you were, I guess, like used to growing up?
I mean, I knew it was different from other people's, but I guess it was like the cards that I was given, and I sort of had to deal with those cards that I was dealt, and yeah.
Yeah. And also obviously you're very like proud of your like Indigenous heritage now and you know a lot about it. But while that was all happening, I guess when you were younger, were you aware of that all, like your Indigenous heritage at all?
Yeah, of course. Like, I lived with my family up until the age of 9, and then there sort of lives like a family breakdown. But obviously having my Aboriginal mum there raising us, I've obviously was raised by her, and I guess when you go through the child protection system in Victoria, there's the Victorian Aboriginal Child Protection Agency. So that was sort of like a blessing and a curse. Like, it was obviously awful going through the system, but I guess having that there for an Aboriginal child to make sure they stay in communities was for the best. So
Yeah. And I think you kind of like briefly mentioned like maybe sport before, but like with sport as well, and I guess like money can get quite expensive, like I guess enrolling in lots of different sports, like especially now. Did that limit you like with the sports you could play as a child? Like I know you got into AFL like
yeah.
later before that.
Yeah, I never played sport growing up just because like we couldn't afford it. So basically all the sport that I did was if it was for free. So, I started doing track and field, and then sort of fell into footy because there was the Kickstart program that was to develop Aboriginal footballers. And then I shortly fell into a Wyndham PCYC, and that was a gym for at-risk youth, and that was free as well. So creating those opportunities for young people to get into sport in the first place so they can start training and pursue a career in sport.
Did you ever want to like continue with one of those sports that you were doing first, or did you just want to keep like trying a lot of new ones?
The reason why I joined boxing was because I had like ambitions of being an AFLW player, and I really wanted to make the Western Jets, and I got a letter from the Western Jets at the same time I got a letter to do a New Zealand boxing tour. So I chose the boxing tour, and I sort of hung up the boots, I should say, not the gloves, hung up the boots and stopped playing, and I just gave myself fully to the boxing, and in just 5 years I've made the Olympic team. So
Yeah, or just like kind of going back to the beginning of that, the first sport that you kind of, I guess, like played kind of like really seriously was Aussie rules. And I know you're quite good at it, but what kind of player like were you back then? Like what did you really enjoy when you were doing that?
I wasn't very skillful with the ball. Again, not really good with ball sports, but I was just a very aggressive player. I was very strong on the field. So I was just really just taking out people. I was in the back line most of the time or in the midfield, just roughing people up. But if you ever had to kick a goal, it was just never going to happen.
Fair enough. But like you said before, like you eventually did like hang up the boots. I was about to say gloves again. But you were really good, I guess, especially in like the defensive and midfield. But I think you were also the under 16s player of the year, one time. So how did you go from maybe like possibly being a future, I guess, AFLW player to then like actually making the jump to boxing?
I think it was very similar. Like with the football, like I sort of gave myself fully to it. Like I was playing for two local clubs. I was playing in two talent squads, and like every chance I get, I would have a footy in my hand, and I was kicking it, or I was, I didn't sleep with my footy. Like, but I definitely thought that was like going to be my end goals because the AFLW sort of started when I was sort of starting football. So I was like, oh, I could totally do this. And at the time, Taylor Harris was doing boxing and she was playing footy. And so that was like, oh, maybe I could start boxing. And then boxing kind of had a different plan for me. So
Yeah. Wait, was Taylor like one of the main people that kind of like got you into boxing, or were there like a lot of other inspirations that you had?
I think, I guess the only reason why I started boxing, I don't even know why. I think I just wanted to do like I just wanted to get into a combat sport. Like I was fighting a lot at school anyway. So I was like, maybe I should go somewhere that will let me do this, where I'm not going to get into trouble. So, and there was this worker who was working at VACA, which is like the child protection agency that I was with. And yeah, she took me down to the gym one day and I just really fell in love with it. And I think after having my first sparring session against a woman and like getting to actually throw punches at them, I was like, whoa, I love this. Like, this feels good. So yeah, I don't even know why I kept doing it. I just really loved the sport.
Yeah, wow. Was boxing almost like, I guess just like I mentioned before, like kind of moving around when you were kind of a teenager from like different like foster cares, I guess, from time to time? Like did boxing almost feel like a place where you could like really like belong and fit in like almost like family?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the main. I think sport gives you outside of the actual sport of like achieving and getting medals and doing all that stuff. It gives you a safe space. It gives you people that align to you and your values and have similar aspirations as you. Like I'm at the gym 6 days a week, and the people that I'm with, they brighten my day, they lighten my life, and I think the main reason I fell into sport and wanted to keep on being a sports person was because it was keeping me out of trouble, was keeping me out of my foster homes that I didn't particularly want to be in. So I, yeah, I was either studying or I was training. So it was either going to be one of the two. Like I was a mad nerd in high school and I still am. So yeah, either or. I was hoping to. I didn't really have any goals with sport. I just liked that it was keeping me out of the house. So yeah.
I mean, I think within a year, like you said, you didn't, I guess, immediately have any goals with sport, but I think within a year of you kind of starting, you were the 64-kilogram state champion and also the national champion. Like, why was it that you think you got good so quickly? Was it from, I guess, just having an AFL like background or?
I think at the time I was living with a foster carer and he was also my first boxing coach. So every day it was wake up, training, come home from school, training, and we talk about boxing all the time. It'd always be on the TV. It'd always just be he kind of really planted the seed with me, like go to the Olympics, you could go to the Olympics. So I'm just thinking, yeah, like and I had a lot of fights. I had like 16 fights in my first year of boxing, which is a lot of fights. I had 4 fights in 4 weeks to qualify for the state title, to go for that title, and then made the youth national team and won the gold there. So I'm not sure. I think it's just all about consistency and just if you want something, really going for it and like fully backing yourself, and like hard work brings good luck. So that gold medal was a testament of that.
Yeah, okay. Did it feel like you had to like, I guess, like work really quickly to kind of like get like to a higher level, or did you feel like you were kind of like going at your own pace? Did you love having like so many fights so often?
It was hard. Like I was fighting, I was only 17 at the time, and I was fighting, grown women that have had more fights than I have, or have that grown woman strength that I didn't have at the time, and coming up against really class fighters. So it was hard, but I really did like the challenge. I think I thrived in that environment. Um, but I guess that's like the thing that makes you a sports person. You're really competitive, and you want to keep on bettering yourself. Like even now, I'm just all I can think about is the next Olympics. Even though I haven't even been to the first one yet, but I'm just thinking about LA. So that's just the nature of being an athlete, I think.
Yeah, I guess so. And like you mentioned before, you were 17, like when you first started, and this was in 2019, I'm pretty sure. And you had this really new, exciting career, and you were getting really good, except COVID hit. Like, how did that kind of impact you when everything was suddenly shutting down, getting harder to train?
So that was a really weird time in my life because I was exiting the foster care system. There wasn't enough placements anymore for um, foster kids to go to. So I ended up meeting my second coach at the youth nationals, and he was like, "Where's your parents?" And I was like, "I don't have any." He's like, "Where's your coach?" I was like, "I don't have one." Um, so he was like, "Hmm." So he let me live above his gym, and I was living above his gym during COVID. And shortly after that, I moved out. And I was awarded the 2020 Australian Sporting Hall of Fame scholarship. And from that scholarship, I was awarded $10,000, but I was also given a high performance athlete permit. So I was starting with this new coach, Cal Bryant, in Collingwood, at the Collingwood Boxing Club. It's the oldest boxing gym in Australia. So him and that gave us the opportunity to really establish our relationship and really just get good at skills. Like all we did was skills and drills, and um, so that time was really hard, but also I think it really made me as an elite, making the transition from a youth to an elite fighter, where I'm fighting adults who have gone to the Commonwealth Games or gone to the Olympics or whatever they've done. Um, that was all. Yeah, that permit was like my golden ticket. So
Yeah, wow. Do you think you would have still been like in like, I guess where you are now if like you hadn't like gotten that or like been through all of that?
I think a lot of people fell off the horse during that time just because it was such a hard time. There was so much uncertainty. So potentially, yeah. I think potentially, yeah. Like my coach to me now is like my father to me. So I feel like we have a really strong relationship due to the fact that he was the only person I could see like during that time. So and I was the only person he was seeing. So I guess we just developed a really special relationship, and as soon as we got out of lockdown, we just started fighting.
It really was such a weird time. And there was one thing I just wanted to touch on before we went any further, that I was actually like kind of wanted to ask you about. So I know that it's really like specific in boxing where you have to be like an exact weight like before your fight. How specific does it like actually get? Like and like how much like you have to like control how you're eating and everything?
Yeah. So yeah, this is a hard one because the weight categories change depending on the competition. So for example, like the Commonwealth Games is the weight division is 69 kilograms. For the Olympics, it's 66 kilograms. So it's 63 to 66 my division, and you have to be under 66. So I have to weigh in at 65.9. And if I'm over by 100 grams, like 66.1,
Wow.
no fight, disqualified. So I can't get on the scale as like there's practice scales and then there's the official scales. I can't get on the official scales and be over, or else there's no fight. I think when you've gotten to this level, it's probably the most stressful part because when you're traveling and all this stuff, it's really hard, like finding certain foods, and
Yeah.
when you're on the planet, you get water retention. So you have to really like trust your body, understand your body, work with professionals to make sure you're fueling your sessions, but also cutting your weight down as well. Because it's not like other sports like where you're playing footy and like you can just eat whatever you want and fuel your body, but it's like you have like it's a non-negotiable the sport. You have to make weight or else you can't fight.
Very different one to a lot of others, I do guess. And I just wanted to like kind of get back to like your career and everything. So I think if you go back to last year, you did really well at the world titles and then you won the Australian title for your division as well. When you go back to like everything you've been through, like what did it mean to actually like win that?
Well, there was a few. That was a really special time. That was a really well. First of all, I never thought I'd go to India in my life. So going to the World Championships, and I think I finished eighth or ninth. Can't remember. Out of 33 people, that was really special. And I've travelled the world last year. That was my first year on the Australian team, and I went to Hungary, Bulgaria, India, Thailand, Germany.
Yeah,
I
wow.
think I said Italy, but and the Solomon Islands. So I went everywhere. So that in itself was an experience. But to win the gold at the Pacific Games qualifying event in WA, it was just I'd beaten someone. Well, my first fight at the nationals, I stopped the fight in a minute 20 seconds. So it was a there was like lots of noise about that.
Yeah.
So going into the final, competing against someone that she won a silver at the World Championships that year. She was undefeated in Australia for over 10 years. So to fight someone that I had idolized at one point and walk away with the gold, but also being the first woman to win the Arthur Tunstall Award was a huge statement. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess just like what you were talking about just then with the Arthur Tunstall Award. So the other thing about those national titles was that obviously you won Boxer of the tournament, and until 2022, I think only men were actually able to win that trophy. So you were the first woman to win it, and it's named after someone who I guess said some pretty controversial things about like Indigenous people. How did that whole situation like actually just feel to you like in the moment?
Well, I wasn't actually in the room when I got called out. I was doing a drug test. So I feel like that might have tainted the experience a little bit. But when I when I found out who he was and like that women, wasn't aware that women weren't eligible. So I'm pretty sure, like I was sort of just like confused but shocked and happy and excited and thought, of course it was going to be me. Like I knew it was going to be me. Like I was hoping it was going to be me because it was just the performance of my career and like it was just it was just an amazing fight. Watching it back even now, I'm just like, whoa, I can't believe I did that. Like, so
It was a bit like just I guess like weird, like finding out and everything, and then having to like, did you say much about it like at the time, like how you like actually did feel?
honestly, like I felt like I was obviously over the moon that I won it, but obviously raising a few eyebrows that the award is still even named after someone that had such disgusting views about women and racist views about Aboriginal people, like my people. But you know that is just like, but also my name being on that trophy as an Aboriginal woman is like it's sort of a bit of like it just a testament of like the resilience of Aboriginal people and Aboriginal women in particular. So like I'm sure he would have hated for me to be awarded that trophy, but I did, and I did it. So
But I guess you are still like quite young now, obviously, and I really admire how you do like use your voice to speak out about like a lot of other like important issues that you feel like should, have attention drawn to them. Like whether it's, like stuff about January 26th or like the stuff that's going on in the Middle East. Have you always kind of felt like you've like been able to use your voice and you've been like really good at speaking up for stuff?
no, I actually was. I think me being head first and headstrong is because there were periods of times where I wasn't able to be like that, and there were people in my life who were advocating for me, and I think I just took admiration. Like out of admiration, I just wanted to be like that. I wanted to speak out on issues that I think affect people. I yeah, I just I do it genuinely as well. It's like not has nothing to do with about growing my platform or anything like that. I genuinely believe like just human decency. You know what I mean? Like I guess I take a lot of inspiration from my foster mum who she like works in the Aboriginal community. She works in international relations doing humanitarian aid. So I take like great inspiration from her, and I just if I could be like anyone in the world, it would be like to be like her. So
And I guess just kind of like continuing on from that again, like sometimes you do like hear people say like keep politics and like social like issues out of sport and just let people, I guess, enjoy it. What do you kind of like think about like all of that? Like, what's your perspective?
I mean, politics has always been in sport. Like look at Muhammad Ali during, all that stuff, the war in Vietnam. Like politics has always been part of sport. Athletes have always used their platform to elevate issues that they think need to be addressed. So I think, and also that, in my opinion, like what's going on in the world is way more important than my athletic career. Like, I think so. To have a platform, I think I need to use it for the greater good in any way that I can. It's not going to change the world, but I think just talking about these issues is the bare minimum that I should be doing.
And I guess just getting back to sport again. So like last year you were selected for the Pacific Games, which I think you might have mentioned earlier, and you knew that you could get an Olympic spot if you did win. Except 2 weeks before that, I think you dislocated your knee, which is really not ideal. Did you like evaluate the risks, like if you did like compete and possibly like injure yourself further?
Yeah, I actually got a non-medical clearance to not be able to box. Originally, I was told if you really want it, you'll box at the next Olympics, and I just thought, absolutely not. I was just too stubborn. I was just like, nah, 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 nah. Like I've made it this far. Like no one knows me more than I know myself. I know that I'm capable. I've got nothing to lose. If I lose the fight, like at least I tried, type of thing. So I did everything that I can. I did all my rehab in the water. I made weight by running in the water. I wasn't really eating that much because I wasn't able to run or anything like that, skip or anything. I wore compression tights in the fight, and I won the first 2 rounds. And the third round, I just stayed away from my opponent because I knew I'd already won the fight, so I didn't want to risk injuring myself, and I didn't want to risk losing the fight from a knockout or something like that. So I was like, win the first round, won it 5-0. Second round, 4-1. I was like, yeah, there's no way she can beat me. So I want to stay away, and got my ticket to Paris, and my knees back to normal, which is thank gosh. So
That's good. I guess yeah, like you said, you got your ticket to Paris for that, but winning that gold medal at the fight at the Pacific Games was more than just a medal. It was, achieving that bit of history, being the first Indigenous woman to become an Olympic boxer. Like, can you take us back to how you were like actually feeling in that moment when you realized you were gonna get to like represent Australia? And I guess like what does it also mean to have the chance to like represent like your like Indigenous heritage like this?
I think, I don't know if you know this, but the largest number of Aboriginal Olympians are in the sport of boxing. So it's pretty special to be the first woman to be a part of that, that statistic. And um, I don't know, it feels like a bit of a dream at the moment. It hasn't really hit me. So potentially after Paris, or like once I get hit, first fight, the bell goes off, maybe it will hit and really sink in. But for the moment, I'm just sort of doing me and just being who I am. And
Yeah.
I think that's how I got the job done in the first place, and making that happen.
And just last, when you like with everything that you've been through and I guess you've achieved already being at this age, if you could just sit down and chat to 13-year-old Riss, like what would you say to her?
I don't think 13-year-old Marissa would believe me. I don't. Boxing, being like in my family, like no one has ever been an athlete, like at all. So I think it would be a bit of a shock to the system. But I think, I don't even know what I would say to myself, because my life is so different now. So, but I think keep the faith and keep on doing what you're doing, because it'll all pay off eventually. Like what I did for myself back then, going catching buses, catching 3-hour trains to get to training.
Yeah.
I have to thank my past self for doing that work for myself now, because now I can just, sit back and I'm driving my new sponsorship car and it's really, it's much easier for me now. But back then I was the one, like at the time I was really just showing so much grit and determination. And I think my message to young people is you can do the same.
Well, thanks so much, Marissa. It was so great to chat to you about Paris, and good luck for later this year at the Olympics.
Thanks, Abby.